The WYcast is made possible by people going on the ExP homepage, www.exp.uk, and buying my albums on vinyl and CD and getting merch as well. So big thanks to everyone who has. And if you enjoy these podcasts, please consider helping out by going and buying some. Hello, and welcome to the second series of the WYcast. I'm ExP, a hip-hop musician based in West Yorkshire, WY. I made a decision in the last year or so that I should invest time in helping promote and support the West Yorkshire hip-hop scene that I know and love so well. A scene which has supported my involvement in music for over 2 decades. Yes, I am that old. Last season I spoke about my wish to talk to those involved in hip-hop in West Yorkshire, and I said I'd expand my search out to soul and jazz as well, but a spreadsheet I've inevitably put together puts the number of active MCs and producers in West Yorkshire at approximately 200, and I'm finding out about new people every week. Therefore, at this rate, this will probably be a West Yorkshire hip-hop specific podcast for at least the next 7 years? If you're an active and involved West Yorkshire hip-hop artist, I will want to speak to you at some point and find out what it's all about for you. There's not much method to who I choose to get on, but I insist on doing these outside, so there's West Yorkshire scenery in the background where possible. And the weather has absolutely trolled me in a lot of cases. I'm meeting people I have a lot of history with and people I barely know, all with the intention of connecting WY hip-hop artists and giving you, the listener, a chance to know the people behind the great music they make. And on this episode of the WYcast, we've got a guy called BBoy Tranquil. Now, one of the best things about getting old is having history with people. And he started out in clubs breakdancing at the same time I started freestyling and stuff. So we've known each other throughout that whole time. And he is one of the hardest workers in West Yorkshire, in the UK, of breakdancing. He's got his own spot, his own space where his crew operate from, TechStyles and Tranquil Productions, where he teaches out of and they organise events and all sorts of stuff. The guy is crazy with it and like so plugged into the breakdance scene. Something that really needs bringing in if we're going to include all the elements and kind of make a community out of it. So I find this chat really important and he's just an absolute hero. So yeah, enjoy. BBoy Tranquil, how are you?
Great.
Absolutely
thanks.
Amazing to see you, bro.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here, definitely.
Thank you so much for hosting us at your reasonably new TechStyles International headquarters.
Yeah, I know, it feels amazing to have.
This place is absolutely cavernous, man, and I'm so impressed that, how long have you been here now, a year?
Yeah, it's like a year now.
And is it the first time you've had like an official headquarters for the breakdance company that you run? Like?
Yeah, first time. I mean, we went from working at home and working, everywhere and anywhere to then having a headquarters and office. It's amazing.
Unreal, man. Let's so I first met you when, and what's your birth year? You're a bit younger than me, innit?
Yeah, 1987.
87? Yeah. Okay, a couple of years.
Yeah.
I first met you when you were a wee nipper, and I was young then. When you were like coming through breakdancing, I feel like it might have been at Breadbinz the first time. Does that sound right? At Beehive?
Yeah.
Is that one of the first time you were breakdancing a hip hop night?
I think that would have been the first. The first night.
Amazing. And it was man. It did feel like there was a real union of the elements of hip hop then.
It was real.
Do you know what I mean? There were DJs literally DJing while we were rapping, while you were breakdancing, and there were graffiti artists there and all the rest of it. It was just like all the elements combined. Well, here we are with more graffiti sort of thing. So when did you first like get the bug for breakdancing? How did that come about?
Yeah, well, for me, I was trying a lot of different things, and I was originally, I think, in Westbourne around that point, and I tried a few other sports and stuff, and it hadn't really worked that well. And
right.
I did love basketball, and I thought, but then I'd seen some of the older guys and they tried to make NBA and the process was crazy. You had to have a lot of money. They had to live over there for a while.
Yep.
And then some of them didn't make it. And then that just sort of, I was like, this is not maybe the thing to be doing. And yeah, I was just struggling to find my thing. I liked art and stuff. But then I went to a football camp, which I'm not a football guy, you know what I mean? But I just went to the camp for the summer. And at the end of the show, they did a award ceremony after the whole thing, and they had some breakers come in and they just hit a performance. And when I seen it, I knew straight away that was my thing.
Just off the back of something they booked on a random.
But I was really not that sport, not the best at that kind of football or that kind of thing. But and as soon as I saw them guys, I was like, that's definitely something I need to do. And then I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna find out where that is. And actually, it was at St. John's Church, which was not far from where we lived at the time.
So they were local breakers?
Yeah, and I'd been said to go, actually. I think my mum had said, oh, you need to go to this breaking thing, because I was only young at the time. I think I'd have been 12 when I first heard of it or something, and I was like, no, because it wasn't on TV like it is now, where you can know what it is and stuff. I think there'd only been like maybe one video out. Probably Run
DMC and Jason Nevins or whatever, because it was like 99 if you were 12.
And Bomb Funk MC. So they might have been them two videos, and I did like it, but then. But once I'd seen them, I was like, right, I'm going. So, I hit up there at the church, and it was Dylan Goggs, who he's like a sort of, he was a bit of a mad one back in the day, like crazy, lived a party lifestyle, but he wanted to pass on the breaking and became Christian. He thought, I'm going to pass on breaking to the kids. So he put it on 50p, and it was full. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that's when all the youth centres started closing as well. So, when they had all those youth community centres, they started closing down. So I think the one just near us had closed down. So that's when they started doing ASBOs and all that kind of stuff. So it was quite full then. And, I would just... I was bad at it first.
So age 12, you're like, so where was that, in centre of town somewhere?
Well, when I actually went, I think it was in the church when I went, and when they did the show, I think it was near Sedgeburgh or something, up near there. But yeah, when they do it they'd have the whole church. They'd have like top, middle, bottom, and if you was good, you'd be at the top with the lino, and if not, you're on carpet, and if you're not, you're at the back.
Carpet burns if you're no good.
Yeah, so you got to learn. Do you know what I mean? But I loved it, and from there it was like my mission to sort of work my way up, and once I kind of it didn't take long because I was passionate, so I go home and practice and train. But because like, I guess in the UK hip hop scene's been a bit of a weird one, especially in breaking. I don't know about MC.
Yeah, I know nothing about the breaking scene really.
But it kind of just after that 80s buzz, it just died out.
It seemed like, so I've talked to a few heads who are like, and one guy you'll know, Tony Green, who used to put stuff on at Elbow Rooms, and he's like maybe 10 years older than us, sort of era, and he were like, because he grew up in that era where it hit like primary school. Yeah, everyone was breaking. There was this big spike in the UK. People were body popping, didn't even know what they were doing, and then suddenly it was just like, and it's over in a flash kind of thing. Yeah,
and they say, when I talk to them guys, they all say everybody was doing it, like it was some huge, like
UK-wide movement.
Yeah, UK-wide movement, and they just say like every street, every like nearly, I think every young person is just, everyone who's young was doing
having
it.
A go at it.
Yeah, having a go at it, which that's definitely not the case right now.
Nah.
But I think it was just this big. And then I don't know, I think the rave scene, like for Dylan, I think the rave scene and that kind of music took him away from breaking into sort of techno and other stuff that were going on. It moved into other sort of ways. So yeah, I mean, it was really quiet when we started, and it wasn't something. But when he taught us, he didn't teach us from the sort of like France had kept it going, other places kept it going. Yeah. So our perspective was like 80s perspective, like from when he stopped. That's how we started. So we've got a bit more of an old school mentality about us, and I think that's why we still, when we do events and other things, we like the whole all the elements, MCs, DJs,
of course,
because a lot of, as it seemed to go on in time, they separated, a bit more. And you end up with just breaking jams or just this or just that, whereas in the 80s, obviously it was everything, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course. So you were practicing every night, having gone to these breaking lessons with your man. When do you start like doing it publicly? Like when did you go outside of the realms of that church? Like,
yeah, well, they were going places and getting, it was starting to get a little bit of they were picking up a little bit of sort of interest and stuff, and they had a few bookings, a few shows. Some of them guys went to do some things in Hong Kong.
Whoa.
And like, I was too young, to go there, and and then I remember there was me and Styles who we break together, and he's still in the crew and that, and so it sort of like it got where they needed one more person, so we were rivaling each other to who's going to get that. That,
literally battling each other for the spot.
Yeah, and Dylan, the guy would say it was, whoever gets this sort of move, then you come with the show with us. So that it excelled us, pushed us.
Yeah.
And
who got that spot?
Yeah, and then we end up, I ended up getting my first show, going out somewhere, and we were just.
Who got the spot out of the two of you?
Well, he got it first.
Right.
And I was mega, heartbroken,
Yeah.
as you would be. And
Yeah.
then I managed to like step up on him, and
Sick.
then we kind of then became better, stronger members of the crew, and then we went out to sort of we'd do a few, like, I don't know, back then they used to have a lot more, like social things. There's nothing like they'd have things for, I don't know, something from maybe 13 to 18 to go chill, or
And it'd be a literal, like a breakdancing based thing.
It'd be more like a club thing, and then we go and just entertain a little bit,
sick,
a little
yeah.
bit like more like a night, like a mini nightclub type of thing.
I get you.
Vibes, or we do a show like we did Message Tribe, or go and do like a stage performance, and it got where, we were doing that quite a bit, and it was just and then. Yeah, we kind of it just built up from there. But we went to Bosnia, which is a big one for us.
Oof.
So like that was my biggest first trip, and I think I was 14 or 15 then, and it was when we went to there. We're like, that opened my eyes to a lot as well, because we were there to sort of help the people, because they had that big divide, and they had the war, hadn't they, and stuff. So
yeah.
even when we were there, there's tanks, there's people with guns, and
your parents must have been like, you aren't going to Bosnia, or were they chill with it?
Well, she was pretty nervous, and rightfully so as well, because the tension there is like high. When you're there, you can see certain people do not like each other. So our job was to sort of spread breaking, and we was trying to help them know about God, and also like, because they've been through some hard stuff, so we were like show them breaking, show them something they can unite with and have a laugh, and we went out to army barracks and stuff, and I'd seen that when you had to get drafted at something like 16, and you were in the army from 16 I think till 19 you get out or something like that with national service.
3 years of definite national service. At a time in your life where the last thing you need to be doing is being given a gun.
Man, but all that sort of stuff for me was just like, it just changed my mindset when I got back. I got rid of, I think early on I could see, what's important and what ain't important as much, a bit earlier and stuff. But it really made me cling to the breaking, because it was an amazing thing. And then, Dylan kind of, he left. He just kind of left.
Was it Dylan who went, we're all going to Bosnia?
Well, yeah, because
it
was, they had somewhere called Novimos, it's like a charity out there, and they set up a base, and, they had a lot of fighting between, I think, Christian Muslims and stuff.
Right.
So it'd been a bit messy, and then it was kind of us guys going out there and saying, you know what, not everyone, these guys might represent, or might say they represent what the real is, but they obviously they're not. Do you know what I mean?
Got you.
And this where look at us. We're here. Is it peaceful and that? And let's just have a good time and stuff. So, it was a great thing. And there was Barry as well, Barry Johnson. He was another one but Barry he had a massive rep as a gangster, Bradford gangster. And he was like he was a heavy breaker though. He was part of the Beat Street Boys, and so he'd come every now and then as well to the church and sort of give tips and input. But even Dylan saw him as sort of like a, one of those local legend type of guys.
Of course,
and he lives in Brid now, and I talk to him all the time, or text him a message. But he's like one of them old school cats that was like really, he was just mega. Do you know what I mean? And everyone knew about him from Leeds. Anywhere we go, we could say, Barry's.
And he was into some bad things at the start, but kind of breaking put him on the path a bit.
Well, he did boxing, breaking, but he also, but both of them two were addicts, and then they became Christians. They changed their life around, and then
Amazing.
They sort of they wanted to pass on breaking. So that's the kind of legacy, I guess, of them two wanting to get together and put breaking on and stuff.
What was that crew called again that he were in?
The Beat Street Boys.
Beat Street Boys. So was that a West Yorkshire or Bradford based?
That was a Bradford one, and they were like they were on TV back in the day, and they were they were doing really well. But Barry was like he's like, if you ever met Barry, he's like one of a kind type of guy, and he's just, he's got a great, like, he's proper encouraging and all that. And, I remember making mistakes when I was younger, and we were all a bit rough and ready and raw, do you know what I mean? And, we didn't know what we were doing, but he was patient with us, and he was just like, you know what, don't do this because of this and that. And it was like, oh yeah, maybe that's right.
Did you find then growing up and breakdancing and learning to breakdance that there was already quite a well-established, like, West Yorkshire or Bradford breaking scene? There was already a kind of community that you were... welcomed in it?
No, he really wasn't kind of like that, because the thing is, there was Leeds and Shane Tenton, he had a really good thing going on there, and he'd pop up at Bradford every now and then, and he might put like a sort of like event on and he'd do it outside Centenary Square, or he'd do it, I think he did one in Brid or something like that, and he'd get us all together, some from like Pickering, Goole, Hull, Leeds, York, and we'd all
knew all the contacts to get all the main breakers.
And we'd just come and battle and stuff like that. But Dylan left for Canada, and it sort of, when he left, it kind of, some of the guys who were older than us, because I was on the youngest end.
Yeah.
So it kind of just, it messed them up quite a bit, and they didn't have any guidance. So we were a little bit like the Lost Boys, So that's when we end up coming, like, that's when we were just everywhere and anywhere.
You really were.
Yeah,
Any hip hop gigs, you'd show
Yeah.
up. So, for example, Tony Safari used to put on nights at Love Apple. I feel like you guys pretty much rolled up to any hip hop gig that was going there.
But
from Trainer Troubles.
Yeah, we loved it. Yeah, man. We were just like, and them guys, I would have been 15, 16, but the guys who were a little bit older than me were like 18, 19, 20. So I was going out with them from early, because I could break. I was in the club from really young. So I was like, we used to have a right laugh. Do you know what I mean? We just turn up. Like, I remember being, I had a mate in Leeds that, who was part of Get Low Lethal, and, we used to pretend that we were booked somewhere, and we'd roll up and say, oh, we're booked tonight.
We're on the list.
Yeah, we're on the list. And they'd be like, what? And then we'd like, do a bit of breaking. Then they'd let us in, and he'd argue the point, and then he'd be paying us, for shows. And
Mate, you always added to the vibe. The promoters that I remember, both Tony's, Green and Safari, were always like, got to get the breakers in, got to get the breakers in. It always seemed like you guys were like, because you were bringing a show. And a show that you couldn't, it wasn't like you could book you and get, email you and go, oh, please will you provide some breakdancing? It's like, but your crew would come along and make something that the audience would be like gathering around and going, whoa, look at these guys doing all sorts of craziness, man. Like,
yeah, it was amazing. And when I remember going to that Breadbinz the first time, and because we used to go a bit to, there was a Rio's as well or something like that, which some of the other guys used to go.
Right,
so
you went to the Rio's night.
So it was just a place where you could break, and some of them guys liked some of the rock, because he's still got some of the
rock and rap have always had a bit of, especially in the 90s, late 90s.
Yeah, and there's some of them beats that are just heavy. So
Word.
they used to go there, and when we went to Breadbinz, I remember just coming down into the smoke. When you open the door and the door opening, and it's just like and I just remember coming down and being like, and you couldn't even see like, that far. It wasn't like, it's not like a club like where you can just see now all across the room.
Pre-smoking ban, people were getting away with a lot worse down there,
And when we went down there, we were like, and you couldn't really see in the, there's so many little corners and everyone sat around. Yeah. And I just remember you guys, like every time, like you'd be like a freestyle cypher.
And everyone was freestyling, off the top freestyling.
Serious freestyling.
Yeah.
In a proper huddled, you know what I mean? And we just used to like, yo, this is amazing. And some of the beats as well were like that UK. It was like that early UK hip hop as well.
Definitely playing those beats,
So, and then obviously, but you also had that US influence, because you had some of them back in beats as well, just to rhyme over.
It was a time when DJs were DJs because they had, well, as well as having an ability, they had stuff they bought, found, sourced, found out about. So they were coming through playing records that no one had heard because they'd managed to get hold of it. Yeah. And then you're on stage, you're on the floor breakdancing. We're trying to drop freestyles after it, stuff like that. It was just like, it was hip hop.
Yeah, and
it was the purest hip hop, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we come in, and I remember like, you guys would be in the cypher, and then one of us might get down just at the back, and then the cypher, your cypher would open up, and then it turned into more of a, and then it's like all interactive all at the same time. DJs doing it, and then we kind of just. We go off a bit, have a bit of a drink, chill, sit, and that, and then we come back to the floor, and it was just all night.
Too cool, man. Yeah. Without wanting to sound like a jaded old 40-year-old, I miss those days, man. That was some raw, real hip hop, man. And I feel like that is something culturally, like hip hop sort of went its own way, and there's lots of things that split off from that era, and it's great because lots of people have been given opportunities to make it in their own way and do their own thing with it. But I think the culture bit of it did get lost somewhere in the community, and I think the breakdancing, working with the DJs, working with the MCs was always such a sick thing. Do you, just fast forwarding, because I'm still trying to do the origin story of you, but but fast forwarding, like, do you think like Have you noticed that community now, or do you have to leave the country before you see that vibe that we had at Breadbinz?
I think now, like, it's something that we're always trying to give. We're trying to do again, and build up again. And I know the things in the world ain't helping. Do you know what I mean? Because we try to get things going more. But we're trying to do that. And when we do go around the UK, there are pockets of it. You know, and we do see it at certain events. Not all, because some, like we said, it's just separate, and it's just this or that. But we do see certain events where things are, they're trying to bring more elements together, and it is great when we see that. And but I guess and it just seems like even that, not even just in hip hop, but in many ways, like that kind of going out thing and being social, even in a wider sense, is gone. Never mind just in hip hop, because even when we were doing it, it was a rarity for the hip hop side, but people were at least going out somewhere else, weren't they? Whereas now it's a bar or something.
I felt like there was, it is a bar, you're right. I think it's expensive, very expensive to go out in general. And I think there was a little bit of leeway in our era where, you were sneaking in as a 16, 15-year-old to places where now they'd be like, where's your ID? You're not 25, get the hell out of here, sort of thing. And it's like, you don't get any, what are you meant to do when you're growing up and like finding your way? Because really you're a melting pot at young age. You're like, you need to be thrown into all these situations, but to like be sitting on the bench until you've got like ID, that's tough, isn't it? Like,
and I think but I remember like a lot of back then people were going out earlier as well, weren't they? So, a lot of people, and I guess there was a lot of people. It was more, there was a lot of generations when you used to go out as well, because everyone was just out in town.
It's what you did.
So and I don't know. I just feel it was an exciting time. And when I tried to explain it to these younger, the younger guys in the crew, I was just saying as well, I know breakers from the 80s, and they said that the music was really, it made you want to dance. So they said all of them was out and all of them was dancing all the time. Even if you weren't a dancer, you was a good dancer. So now then you fast forward to like 90s, 2000s, music's maybe not so much dancing, but we're out. But so we can dance 3 times, 4 times a week if on a night. So we could train and then go out. And I say to the younger generation, you don't go out at all. So you're missing like a whole fun aspect of because when we were going out, we weren't really, we're just having a really good time and just enjoying it. So, I do think it's a bit of a missed one.
Yeah. Sure. And so going fast forwarding from Breadbinz, the times when I then bumped into you again, you were doing elbow rums through Tony Green and Fresh Jive events, put on a lot of like battles, and breakdance events like that. Was that so? I'm trying to think. Your involvement. Were you part of? Had you created Break North by then, or was there a different crew that you were a part of when you were doing those kind of early battles with Fresh Jive?
Yeah. So when we first started off the crew with Dylan and that, which that was UV crew, and that was great because we learned a lot about how to be right with each other and how the crew kind of values what we needed to do.
Was that the Bosnia crew?
That was that. And then once we left that, I think we might have been Bradford Soldiers a little bit, which was like, because we had a guy called, there was a big like Manchester Asian scene, they'll go out and they'll pop and they do like popping for, battles for money, in the clubs in Manchester. Yeah, in these, and he was one of these youth workers that was sort of like not into breaking as much, but he'd done popping, he liked Mr. Wiggles, so he knew about that, and he found us a spot, which was the YMCA. So we went to there, and then I think from there I met a few other guys who wanted to learn, and that's when the first Clean North started. So then Clean North was like UV plus some brand new guys. And we kind of worked together there for a while, and that's when we started going out more. And because I knew Shane was there, he'd run a few things over in Bradford. He was always like, "Oh yeah, come to these events." And come and they were really regular as well, which was a good thing.
It seemed to be like almost once a month, and he was bringing the international guys over as well.
Yeah,
right?
So you'd have you once a month, sometimes even something on the odd. You might end up with twice a month, and then you'd have a big breaking jam as well. So that you'd have the club vibe, you'd have the big jam, and you might have another special event. So it was really nice for us because without that we wouldn't have sort of progressed as much, because he brought so many breakers in that we were having to push to get some of the guys that I battled. I think they went on to become like, well, I think one of them's like, he's a world champ. Do you know what I mean? So I was battling Menno, early days, when, at sort of elbow rooms in Fresh Jive, and then the next year I see him and he's like, he won UK champs, and then he went on to become Red Bull BC, won All Star and all this stuff. So
competing with the best of the best.
Yeah, so it was that was definitely a place where we could sort of really get to grips, and you had that kind of mentality where, right, next month I'll do better. I'm going to go and do better. And because it's a club too, I feel like that was, there's, as a young guy, you want to impress the crowd too. So it's not just a competition where it's like that interact in the crowd are like, oh, he's a cool guy, he's dressed right, or I don't like the way I like that person's style. So you've got like the crowd's influence on you as well. So.
It's funny because you'll get like you'd imagine most b-boys who are watching you are looking at you from a technical perspective, a bit like a rapper listening to another rapper. It's like, oh, that doing that with the multi-syllable and this. Yeah. Whereas someone who's like removed from that and is just enjoying it as a piece, they're enjoying a whole different aspect of it that you can't that you can't even really fathom. Like, as you say, like the way you dress, the way you're at, and obviously it's like the more flips you do and stuff like that in it with the bystander, they just like they want to see the spectacular. Like.
So it was good because you end up with a different that's an era in itself. I think an era of breakers come from there, and then we it's strange as well because we're moving into the new era of the Olympics this year as well. So that's another they'll have a different.
What's the deal with that? Okay, that's interesting. I completely forgot that was becoming an event. How the hell are they marking that? How do you know how that's working?
I'm not involved in the
You've not been training any young Bradford Olympians up now?
Well, we've definitely got the capabilities. It just for us it wasn't as an open door as possible. It could have been. So it just meant that some of our guys it's difficult because some of the qualifiers, they're not even been in the country and certain things like that. So obviously being in a city like Bradford, when we were young as well, all those nights and things we're talking about, they're so important in having a scene because, I couldn't afford to do anything. You know what I mean? We would just get in there and basically just getting the travel there. And to be honest, a lot of us we'd walk home, like we went to Indigo rooms in Huddersfield, walked home.
Walked from Hudds,
to Bradford. This is how much money we had. Like the thing was just to get there, do you know what I mean? And then we'd figure it out when we were there. And I really don't know how we did it, but things were cheaper, weren't they? Anyway,
they were a bit cheaper, definitely.
But I think we might have enough for but sometimes we'd be on water, or I'd be going to Lahore, just ordering some rice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And getting the side salad for free. Do you know what I mean? It's like £1 for some rice or something.
Madness.
So we were on really and me and Styles, we were eating just porridge and stuff like that at certain points. It was like, it was just difficult, but that having that scene locally, because a lot of the new breakers, as I guess as time comes in, it moves away sometimes from the origins or those that might where it started, and then it's sort of like some of those that it's for, not that kind of originated it, they can't afford to do it
fully.
Which is,
I guess for a young person it's easier to get into it and teach yourself. You didn't have YouTube tutorials and stuff like that back in the day, and I was thinking about this because through the eras there's always been even boogie woogie, and even before then there were dances, even classical era foxtrot and all these kind of things, and there was a dance of the time, and there'd always be songs that were about the dance, and then breakdancing came in and it was about that kind of thing, and something like TikTok seems to have taken over that dance thing where there'll just be a song and then people are making up their own dances to it, and that becomes viral and that becomes the dance. And you'd imagine, I don't know much about it, but I'd imagine there'd be a lot of breakdancing on TikTok as well, and then people are finding their way through that and then getting interested in it that way. I think that's happening a lot because of YouTube. People can just pick it up, or they can and especially like you said, TikTok and stuff, and people are just learning it as just movement, I guess. It's not really it's kind of there's no thought of maybe where it's come from or any history. But I think that's really important in anything you do. If it's whether it doesn't have to be breaking. It could be it's good to know where things come from, and of course,
how things are done and stuff like that. Because
just going back to the Olympics, how are they marking that? Is that going to be like a floor routine in gym? And have you seen any of the marking? Or
well, it's been 1v1, and they have their own system. And they vote.
So tens, but holding up tens and nines and
no, it's like it's called like a trivia system, and they had like a sort of. It was sort of colours, you know, so red and blue, and they would kind of give you points, and you can move.
So there'll be a panel of judges.
Yeah, there's a panel of judges, and they make the vote, and it's usually round based. So every round goes on, they make a vote, and then they have this was the last time. You know, I was looking at, they had like a slider to sort of edge it one way or another way as well. So it was quite complex when I looked at the
really
judging
complicated,
of it.
isn't it?
But at the same time, you know, I think. You know, they've done it a lot. You know, it's happened all over the world. They had different qualifiers, different. How are the Great British team put together? Have you any idea? Well, yeah. I mean, some of them, you know, like you had to go to certain qualifier events, and it was all quite like, you know, for me personally, you know, it wasn't. I didn't feel like, you know, usually I would have expected for sort of that kind of thing to be more of a region, you know, like local, regional, national. And then it's because for your country, if every country did it that way, when I've been, for example, doing or seen other sports, that's the way it's worked. So it's like it feeds up, doesn't it? You know, and it's obvious that it wasn't really like that. So because of that, like obviously.
How was it like? Just like they got some guys in London. Oh yeah, I know this guy breakdances.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that.
But Team GB.
but you know what? But it wasn't. It definitely wasn't. You know, if you know, I don't think. You know, they missed out on a lot. I think they missed out on a lot of people.
Is the North getting overlooked again, bro?
I don't want to say, man. I don't want to say. Do you know what? The fact that you're saying this without even me having to say out that you know, but I do feel like you know there have been, you know, we didn't make, you know, none of the guys qualified for it. So we won't have a representative for it.
Seems like a shame.
Yeah, which is a shame. And I know them guys will have been working hard towards it. So
maybe in the future, because it's the first one, maybe in the future, as long as it continues, it'll be something that someone like National Lottery is putting funding into, and then that's happening nationally, and that's a pot of money that you can feed into and also be a part of that. And then there'll be that, maybe that infrastructure doesn't exist yet, but now that it's started in the Olympics, it will go on to exist.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think that hopefully it'll get back in, because it was one that Paris, you know, they wanted that in, and then I don't think that, you know, where it goes next, I don't know that
they might not do it, but it's sick that Paris are doing it.
Yeah, so I mean that's amazing, and you know, it's not it's the first time, and I guess the first time will always be maybe possibly a bit shaky, but
yeah,
you know, it's we definitely the good thing is, you know, during that time as well, we didn't have, you know. We were in, you know, we were building ourselves, and you know, but some of our guys, definitely Spider, Labyrinth, they're amazing breakers, and you know, they would have been definitely, you know, like in the lineup for that. Do you know what I mean? As B-girls, but they're still on it. They're still doing a lot, and you know, Spider just had a recent invite to Break Mission, which is another big event in UK, and then we had Labyrinth. She's amazing breaker. If you've seen her,
I have. Yeah.
And then we've also got.
I follow her on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Labyrinth, that's Labyrinth there.
No way. Literally.
Yeah, and then we've got you know, we got Ammo. She got an invite to Slovenia World Kids. So we have got crew members doing things all over, and you know, it's really good. So it's not like we haven't had opportunities. It's just that we just didn't really get involved too much in that sphere.
Fair enough.
And oh, sorry.
No. You go.
No, I was just saying as well. Like obviously breaking. You know, it's they're saying it's like moving into a sport thing, and I think, you know, for me, like as long as it remains both, it can be both. You know, it can be both, and for me, I'm happy with it to be both. It's just as long as people don't swing one way or other way too much, and you got jams that are both. You know, you can have events like TechStyles, and you can have events that are more sport based, and I think there's space for that. It's a good thing. You know?
Yeah, I think there's well, it's the same with rapping. It you look at like battling, and that's become like a sport, like down to it's got times, rounds, you know what I mean, judges, everything's like that, and it's like, are we, you know, fundamentally it's an art form. It's poetry, and then someone's gone, oh, let's make a sport out of it. But going, sort of talking about that Bosnia thing, it's good to give people, because I feel human beings in general like have this need to not conflict, but like one-upmanship, or prove that their tribe is better than your tribe or whatever. And I guess if that's not being done with like guns and fists, and it's been done with like breaking and battling and sport and what have you, then I guess that's positive, isn't it? In the long run, like.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that's what it's about. And I think, you know, going to Bosnia as well, it just showed us again, it was that reminder that, I think it's important for breaking to, like, I love, for me, I've always been inspired by the skate culture, not just because I loved the skate games as a kid, and I just look at that scene and I'm just going, wow, it's like the amount of investment and sponsors and brands and
that's an Olympic sport as well.
It's crazy, and I just think to myself, I like how they've got that. They've got different, cultures within it as well. They can do the big, they can do helmets and pads, or they can be in the concrete skate park where getting cut up and all that kind of stuff. So they've managed to. It seems like they managed to do it well. And for my hopes for breaking is that we can kind of have, just elevate it in a bigger way where we've got that different thing. But I do always want to make sure that just important for me to, breaking is for it does. It's easy for those people who haven't got, maybe they don't live in the best area, or they haven't got a lot of stuff. They can break, and that could be their outlet. You
can do it for free, effectively. It's one of those beautiful things, isn't it?
Like, and it's a really strange one because we're saying at the same time we are we're looking for funding and things like that because we want to elevate breaking, but at the same time we don't want to say now you need but you have to, it has to be able to be done in multiple ways, so we have to be able to do it where we can make it big like TechStyles, but we also have to be able to maintain that community thing where we can just rock up and say, let's go, let's do it. I mean? We don't want to lose that.
Well, the Olympic thing, I mean, at the very least, is going to provide more exposure for breakdance in general and hopefully get people interested in what you're doing here. So, you've mentioned a couple of times TechStyles. When did you start TechStyles? And
once I'd been breaking and like I said, we were traveling, I was getting better and better. I got seen by Firefly and a few others, and I got into this Fire Force. That got me loads of international jobs, and I went to Formula One, and then I, with us all being young, we all got into little bits of fights and this and that in it with the crew and that, and fallouts and blah, and really? In the end, some of the groups moved on, so we ended up going for Clean All to Get Funked crew.
Right.
And then after Get Funked, it went to, I ended up getting in Flavor Squad. So then I was in an American crew from Boston. And
I didn't know that. Flavor Squad in Boston. Yeah, so amazing.
That was like a dream for me because, all the breakers I looked up to were in it. So, I was at the bottom again, though, so I worked my way up. And for me personally, it was like I was trying to be the best. Like, that's what I wanted. And, going there was like a big, hit in the face because they were just crazy in America.
How old were you when you joined that crew?
I think I might have been around. I think it might have been in my, I think I'd have been around my 20s, something like that.
And you were still based in Bradford at the time.
Yes.
Were you having to ship out to Boston all the time?
I was going to Boston and I was going to Sheffield because the main guy in UK was Sammy the One, and he got recruited to start Flavor Squad UK, and then.
Sick.
He got a few guys from Europe as well, and I was just blessed to be part of that. And going there nearly every year and saving up and just experiencing everything, that was just an eye opener too. But you know what? Once I got into it as well, I just felt like, because I always pray about things, I always feel like that's how I move, and I felt like I want to be the best. And that's what I was wanting, but it was more like that was for me, and but I felt like. I kept getting into it's like hitting a ceiling. Something would happen or I wouldn't, and also spending time around the best as well. I spent a lot of time around the best, and I saw that really it might not have been what I was thinking it was. So I felt like I had this need to sort of help the home more.
The community.
And it just felt like I needed to. That's more important. So I kind of. I started doing classes and making money that way. As soon as I was 18, I left school and I was just doing breaking. So just teaching and performing.
From as long as I remember, from you being an adult, you were out teaching and doing classes with people.
And that was unheard of at the time because like I said, it wasn't like where there's music videos now and everyone's dancing and it's all just a dance. You used to dance on an advert for a bus and it's it was like dancing just wasn't a big. It just grew massively, with the movies and other things. But they weren't out, until once we were already dancing. So the thing is, I was breaking and teaching and working, and I think, but I thought like I need to put more effort into the teaching, and there were some students here as well, and me going away and being to Boston and going to these other places, and then coming back and seeing our scene. it just made me think, I need to do something. And so I started teaching more and putting more into that. But then Shane, he'd been caning it for years, working so hard with Tony. Yeah. And I think them guys were just burnt out a little bit because they were just like, the scene's not always the most grateful, and they were putting the best events on. And
I think people from all over, man.
And that was self-funded type of stuff, no funding. They were doing all that, and I remember talking to Shane. I think he's like, I'm not doing, he just needed a break. So then at the same time as that, around that time, other jams were shutting down as well. So I remember having a lot of these students and people who I were breaking with, and I was taking them to the places that you fresh jives and other things. And what happened was that it was this big hole then. So for about a year there was a hole, and I was like, man, I need to do something because there's just nothing going on.
Amazing.
So that was the first TechStyles in 2013, and the first TechStyles was just to make a place.
So TechStyles was initially an event.
Yeah,
effectively. Just an event in 2013, and it was just so that people could come and battle and break from the scene, because we went from something every month, like we could go and find something twice a month because we had stuff in Bradford and there was stuff everywhere, to then something like once every 4 months, or if that. Not enough.
So that's just crazy. Yeah. So then the TechStyles event got put on. I did 3 of them. But the thing is, I started investing, and it was done exactly the way kind of like Shane would do it, and like the way he was sort of. I tried to do it like.
Did you get Shane involved, even as a?
No, I didn't actually get him involved. I think I got a lot of people involved actually, and there were his people from the scene involved.
Yeah.
But because it was just very small, I was just the MC, and then I was running around doing other bits as well. Yeah. And we got like some of the DJs. So I tried to emulate what he was doing, but then I also wanted to I felt like it was difficult, and then I was thinking to myself, you know what, I'm gonna burn out because I put more money in, and I'd only done 3. You know what I mean? And I put more money in, but there was no more money coming out. So I was like wanting more to pay the people that was coming, and I wanted to, but like the first time, can you do it for free? They hook you up, and then next time we'll pay you. So we put more money in, and then we might get another thing. So then it's like the triple the investment, but the crowd's the same, And
of course, yeah.
So I just stopped after like 2014 around then, but it was still in my heart to do it, and I just thought, well, I need to look into. I'd heard about an event in America which was free. And I was
How
like,
the hell do you pull that off?
The prize money was crazy. The prize money was insane.
Where's that money coming from?
They had 5 judges. I think it was the silverback probably that I might be thinking of at the time, but and it was free in, and I was like, and they had. And it was a massive, it was like bigger than any event I'd seen, one of the biggest events I'd seen. And I was like, we're doing something wrong. Like something's not quite right. How are they doing that? Like what's
sponsored by
on?
Pepsi or something?
Yeah, something like that. So I just started, spending time researching, looking into things for that kind of, it wasn't like a full on for the 5 years, but it was something I was constantly had my eye on all the time. And if there was something there, I would be trying to learn. And then some people came from London or down south called Brickbox up to Bradford, and they saw us breaking just like we would be on the street somewhere, and they said, you know what, you guys are amazing, you come do a show for us. We did a show, they paid us, and they said, you know what, why do you guys not get funding, why do you not do that? And obviously I'd been looking into it, and that's when we sort of did the first TechStyles funding thing, and got the jam for TechStyles 4.
Amazing.
So it's like from 2014 to 18 we've gone like 1, 2, 3, and then
little thinking period of time, though. Yeah.
But the thing is, then it was set up it was a bit of a different way.
Is that a government funding, or where's that funding?
That was from? Well, at that time there was, you have these different pots and bodies like that hold money, and some of it might be government funded, some of it might be independent charities that they fund lottery activity, or it could be lottery, it could be Arts Council, but this particular one was like a small one called Unlimited, and we went for that, and we were able to put a jam on. We got tricks from he does Battle of the Year. It was incredible. We had the judges, we paid everyone, we did it right, we had Rasp, we had it was a great jam, and it was like it just then it snowballed. It just started from there. Do you know what I mean? We're praying, just trying to make it work, going on, doing another funding bid, trying to get the event to be more bigger and better, and it kind of just grew like that. And then in 2000, like we said, in about 2018, it set up as because it was run under Tranquil Productions, which is what I used to, it's still running Tranquil Productions, but from 2005 when I left school, that's what was this teaching and performing thing, and that's what I was doing all the way, and TechStyles was under that as well. But it just felt like TechStyles needs to be its own thing, so it can do what he needs to do for the events and stuff.
your other teachers as well as just you, because Tranquil Productions, that's just like you at the top, whereas TechStyles allows other people to be teaching other people within that.
Well, with Tranquil Productions, the good thing was it branched out, more, and just before lockdowns and all that, which it was starting to really take off in a bigger way.
Sounds familiar.
And because it had been just me for many years, but then Labyrinth, it's amazing. We had 1K. We had we had a few others as well. We had like maybe three or four, but it was definitely more Labyrinth and 1K doing the majority. And it got where we were doing more schools, and it was looking really like we were building. And then the lockdown happened, and it was like bam,
killed everything.
But during that time, we managed to get like a grant and that was for doing a digital event. And that's really what made, it was one of the, I put like, I remember, just being like praying like mad because the money and everything was just going down. And, you're just watching it and you're just like, this is like a clock ticking down. And I put like, I just had faith, and I put like, with me and Fox, Big Girl Fox, that's my wife as well, Fiona. We applied for this. It's great to be together. That's but we were outside, we were in the wind, we were training everywhere. Just we'd gone back to, we had nowhere, so we'd lost pretty much most of our stuff, and everything was ticking down. And we'd put in this application for this emergency grant to do this digital thing, and it were like, I think. If it had been one more month, I would have run out of like money, like complete, like gone. And it was just like we went on, and it said we were successful, and we just were like, we just could not believe it. We were just like, oh my word, and that was a worldwide thing. So we had like probably over like 25 countries entering for that, and we did it all from like my living room, and it was like we made it look like absolutely incredible. But we had like judges in Miami, we had some 2 in the UK, we had people from Israel entering. We had one of the guys from Israel was there, we had one from Miami battling Africa, Japan,
people just streaming themselves effectively if they were involved in it.
We kind of did this process where we selected we selected the breakers that were going to enter through like a qualifier type thing. So it went out to the world. They all sent video entries and a form in, and they said why they want to be part of it. They all got paid from the beginning. So even if you got chosen, you got paid then. So for them, it was just good then. So we worked with DJ Fleg, Nobunaga, the amazing DJs, and they made tracks for us, and they made we used their music and that, and then we kind of did like this unique battle system where they could pick their rounds against each other, and it was all live, all at the same time, and it was the scariest, most,
I bet.
I was just like...
Wait for the internet to drop out.
My head was absolutely blown, but, it was a great... it was amazing. We had Luke Hogan, who's... he's been with us from early days when, like 2018 and all the way up till now. And, he's a really good tech guy. So he was working, Labyrinth was working, and me and Fox, and we were just pulling it all together. And that got us known all over the world then, obviously, because, there wasn't much going on during lockdown.
And you were holding it down.
So once we did that, it really opened the door for us. And then once we got out of it, we went for the MPO, and that's what why we've got this beautiful space here.
So you moved in here a year ago. You said you've had the spot for a year.
Because Arts Council England, they support us massively, and that's like it's amazing because it's great because sometimes I guess people think this sort of organisations might not support the real stuff. But I think if you go for it, everyone should go for it, because the more real people go for it, it's in the hands of those that need it.
I mean, how many places are there dedicated to an element of hip hop anyway in the UK? Never mind in Bradford. What you've created here is unreal, and most people would go, "Well, that's not possible." I think most breakdancers, even at whatever level, would be like, "That's not possible."
Well,
and you made it.
I mean, thank God, because I honestly thought like it felt impossible. You know, when I look back at it in the whole, you know, even when we're sat here now, it is like it's you know, it could only be God, because I feel like it's impossible. Do you know what I mean? And some of the energy I had during the times as well, I just feel like, man, I can't how did I do that?
You're a unique individual, bro, and you wouldn't take that for. I wouldn't take that for granted, because I don't know many people who've got that drive, that get up and go, and also that community-based. You seem to know your phone book must just be 7,000 people deep.
Yeah,
The amount of people you know, and the amount of countries, and the people that you bring together. I've been lucky enough to be involved in a couple of the TechStyles events over the years, and the way you draw everything together. We were saying right at the start, where you'll have a rapper and you'll have your DJ and you'll have your, you know what I mean, graffiti art going on at the same time in the event, and it's like drawing all those things together. You could just go, right, we're breaking for 3 hours on a Friday and that's that, but nah, it's a major event every time, man, and it's like hard work that you're putting in.
Well, thanks for coming, man, because you know, having you know, you've been down for quite a few, and you know,
all sick.
You know, your music's real, man. And I love,
Appreciate
like, you know, so, you know, and you've got you know, so many different, and you know, you've got your stuff, you know, solo, and then you've got your stuff with Flame Griller as well, and you know that stuff it does remind me. I think, you know, it speaks to that era as well, doesn't it? So sometimes when I hear that, it's just like, wow. And I think, you know, it's our job to keep that kind of alive and going in that way. Do you know what I mean? And
definitely. It's sick seeing you do well as well, man, because going back to those days at Breadbinz where I was freestyling and you were spinning on the floor, just to be like, Lloyd's killing it, BBoy Tranquil's killing it. It's so like, it just feels great to see you doing what you're doing, man.
And I'd say to anyone as well, you know, like, you know, I would say you got to have the faith in it, and you know, it can be, you know, it's funny because I was saying Dynamo was around back in the days as well, you know, and I was just saying, like, when I was young, I remember feeling really like, because I didn't have any money, and it was like really difficult, and I remember just feeling like everyone's leaving, everyone's doing well, and I was just like, just watching them do well.
People leave to go. I did it. I left to go. I get left to go to Leeds. I almost sold out Bradford. I love Bradford. I'll never hear a bad word against it. But people do, or people move to London to make their art. But you stayed here and you created something incredible. So like, man.
But I mean, it's one of them things. It's just, I think, just, you know, keep going, keep doing it, and you know what? It's like, you know, it's just finding what works and going with that as well. But you know what I mean? I think, you know, I do think for Bradford, you know, the breaking, I want it to be seen as like, I want it to have it, you know, we went to New York just this year, first time in my life. That was like an eye opener again. Like, you know, it's something I dreamed about, but I wanted to wait for the right time to go, because I've been to Boston a lot. So I met a lot of the New York guys there, but you know, I wanted to do it as a crew, or do it in a bit more of a, rather, you know, because you could just book a ticket and maybe go, but I wanted it to be right, so we went as a whole crew.
Sick.
And it was just, you know,
getting involved in events there.
Yeah, it was a 45th anniversary of Dynamic Rockers. So I mean, that it was just crazy.
Was it a crazy event?
Yeah, and just seeing all the different, you know, seeing Harlem, Queens, and Brooklyn, and the Bronx, and, you know, Manhattan, and just seeing the differences and understanding, you know, once you've gone there, I could feel hip hop, you know.
It's like the holy land of your art form, isn't it?
It's just crazy, and you know, but going there and then coming back to Bradford, you know, I do want Bradford to be, and I feel like it already is in some ways, but it's just not known yet, you know, to everyone. But I do want it to have that world stamp that people just associate hip hop with Bradford, and they just go.
I love to hear it, and this is something I've been trying to champion as much as I can with WY and West Yorkshire. The idea is that there's so much talent here in various shapes and forms, producers, rappers, dancers, graffiti artists, whatever, and it should be stamped on all the cities, and it's like, it should be a place where people are going, I need to go to Bradford, because that's where the breakdance is going off, you know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing you're building that.
Yeah, but you know, it's been, you know, it's been up and down, and you know, it has had loads of things, but I think it's just that, you know, having faith and sticking at it, you know, and like I said, we were doing well at certain points, and then things might drop off, and then and then during that kind of lockdown time, we did go back to outside, literally back on the street in the rain. We were dancing in the rain. We're dancing, you know, like in the courts outside my house. You know what I mean? And it was just making it work.
Remember you doing a few videos, and the couple you did over Flame Griller stuff that we used on promo. You were in the court, like doing almost tutorial videos.
But because at that time I was like, you need to mix, just looking for, and that whole Tranquil, and thanks for that, because that was the soundtrack to Tranquil TV.
Mate, it was great work for us too.
Yeah, I was just like, this is going to be the music, for that, and those videos did really well as well, and but it was like once I could get back to doing stuff with people like properly again, and I had to put that on the back burner and that, but it's something I learned a lot through that, like how to, filming and different things like that. So
of course,
still all crossed over.
These days with social media, you've got to have your brain and gear with that sort of stuff. You almost have to be like a mini film producer in yourself, because you've got to create these little bits and pieces of content, and your stuff is so visual and so necessary for that. So TechStyles, what are you mainly doing out of here? Is there a lot of teaching going on in here, or what's bringing people up? Or
Tranquil Productions is still going, doing the classes and doing the performance work, and getting bookings, and it's been a great year so far. I had a lot of bookings and a lot of the classes and going around. That's growing more and more.
Yep.
And then TechStyles, that handles, and in this actual space, we're working on a few different projects for the future, and some of that stuff is to do with the Clean North, and that's working on it's a bit under wraps, but we're working on developing something for the future, which will be exciting. And that a lot of that stuff happens here. We do run some of the sessions here, but we do most of our training here.
Nice.
But because of how we know Bradford is set up, people it's not easy for some people to travel, so we like to go out to the different areas. So we'll go to West Bowling, Homewood, say, or Wind Hill,
places that really need that,
and we'll go right to them, and we do the sessions there. And so we have like Buttershaw on a Monday, we have Windhill on a Friday, West Bowling on a Tuesday.
Amazing.
And then we'll have City Centre Wednesday, Thursday, and then Saturday on here as well.
And how are you finding the reception? Because I used to, long ago, I used to do rap workshops and stuff. Indeed, I think there was a time when we were kind of artwork affiliates, I believe. We did a kind of course together. And I was doing like, Phil, who we know from Pipeline, put me on to do stuff. And I'd started doing a few rap workshops here and there. But if I was asked to do Homewood, it was like, because those kids don't mess around. How are you finding the reception in places where kids are struggling to concentrate and maybe giving you a few choice words?
I think like where breaking's good, I guess, because you're moving at you, and you're
physical.
So I think for those for the kids that find it hard in that way, is the best thing for them out of the elements, just because they can go wild a bit. Which is and it is hard sometimes when you get to them areas, and they're but I do feel like it's even worse than it was before, because we used to do crew work and stuff, and but now, because of social media and stuff, I think the whole younger generation, they just seem to be even more, a bit more, it's some the
focus
and
attention
effects.
span.
It's definitely having some sort of effects, because it's like it seemed to they'll have a word for it in a couple of years. I'm sure. They'll have some something, but I feel like people's attention span's even more difficult. But breaking it, I think we people respond well to it, because it's and going into these different areas, it's good for them, and we're forming crews, and we're trying to do it more like that, where we've got Clean Off as sort of something to look up to. But we're getting these other crews together, and we're trying to. We had the Bradford Brawl just on Saturday.
Just gone,
and that was great. We had like Windhill Clan, we had Westside Breakers, Bradford City Breakers, and Be Smooth. And
there's all these crews that I have no idea about.
And these like a young crews that and Concrete Rods, and we're just trying to get them to sort of like understand the values and then embody it as well, because if we do that, we'll have a better future.
Nothing you want more at that age than to feel like you belong. And a lot of times that'll find its way, and like you'll get in with the wrong crowd just trying to be cool or whatever. But with something like this, it's like, what a reason to be like, oh man, I'm down with Bradford City City Crew. Like,
and then they've got the TechStyles is providing those events. So TechStyles put on that Bradford Brawl. It does the big annual event. We'll do a summer camp program that's got food and things like that. Training as well. also lots of training opportunities, and some of the trips that have been abroad and that's been through TechStyles have been able to, because without those funds they just wouldn't have been able to go, because some of these trips are part funded, like they might be able to do just accommodation, but then the flights are needed. So then that's there for those that
sorting that amount of money out and that amount of and you, and this is just a small team of like you, Fox, couple others, Labyrinth.
There's me and Fox are I'm director, and there's Fox coordinator, and then we'll bring people in to handle certain roles like assistant producing or helping to bring certain projects together, or Luke for his technical abilities, and there'll be different people coming on board to do different parts when a project comes. But it is a smaller team, and it did take that took. I went into that with a bit of a breaking mentality as well, because there's so much to learn, and sometimes that can be overwhelming. You know what I mean? But at the same time, thank God, I feel like we've been doing well. And our first year was the first year of being like having funding in a bigger way was last April to this April. So we got through that gate. Man, we made it. Okay, so now we know everything. Now we just have to do it again and kind of like do it better and figure it out. But I remember there've been times when it's you can't sleep, or your head's just.
It's a stressful thing, man.
Yeah. There's a lot of risk as well, But the thing is, I feel like life's been risky anyway, so it's just kind of like, it's better to go and just have faith and believe in it, and just go, do you know what, and I'm going to do it, rather than being scared and just being like, nah, I'm going to leave it.
I love that. What's your hope for the next 5-10 years then? Is that is it a case of getting more funding in line so you can do bigger and better things, or is there specific, have you got a map to where you're trying to get to?
Well, some of them, I feel like some in some of the other art forms, they have what you call it, I don't know the right word, but it's like institution. It's like almost, it's just solidified. It's just there.
It's there.
Do you know what I mean? For me, the most important thing, I want is just to be there. And with hip hop, because it's so passion driven, people are doing it when they can and where they can. They do the run out of energy and stuff. So trying to do it this way is just so that even if I run, just trying to get to a place where it can be it's there. We're not worried. It ain't going. It's not going to be there.
Anywhere,
Next year it's gone or something like that. So consistency is one of them things I want it to be, and I want it to be where there is more roles, more job roles, and more work to be done, so that some of the people we've got, they can get a job doing some hip hop, because we've got lots of different roles as well. For example, we'll send Labyrinth will go, we went to Texas, she covered that almost like a journalism, and that's involved so many things, from photography to videography, and then the writing of it, and so it was incredible. And the more we can more funding we can get, we've got links, like you said, all over the world, so we can send them out, get people coming back here. We had little Tim, was through TechStyles, we got him here for a week. It's like they have this artist in residence type programs where an artist will go somewhere and might live there for a month or a year or whatever, or a week. It could just be a week. But we got Tim here for a full week, and he was here doing workshops all over schools everywhere, and just sharing his skills, and that's had a massive influence on all of us. So it's things like that we never got to done before. I hope to get some sponsorship. That's what I'd like. I'd like to get some I want to look into not just funding but sponsors to get a good something that lines up with us.
Is the alignment right?
If it lines up with us well, I'd like to get first sponsor within the next couple of years, and try and get that big. I know some events, where they're that popular that the sponsors are actually sort of hounding the organizer for who's gonna they're upping their pay to see who's going to land that sponsorship on that event.
Nice.
So it's that's backwards thinking. We'll be looking for ours, but getting to that point where we can get someone that lines up well with us, and
Do you do much merchandise or anything? I'm trying to think if I've ever. I don't think there's ever been an opportunity to buy some TechStyles or some Clean North. Break North.
There's a lot of people want to buy our gear. So at the events we do merch, and we've done we do gear. We don't have a merch for in
pop
general.
some stuff online.
Doing it, I think
WooCommerce, man.
we definitely will be starting to do some more stuff though, for sure. Like,
do you know what I mean? Just like even just something with that Bradford on as well. Just something that people could be like, you know what I mean?
Well, everyone wants to. You know, people are always like, "Oh, can I get one of them crew T-shirts and stuff?" So we were talking about trying to do a line of things that I just, you know, that people can wear anytime.
Yeah. Just single logo on a black T-shirt would be sound.
Yeah,
just something, and it might help with a few quid. Like, So you I don't know whether I can push this really, but your crew Clean North, you said you've got something in the works for the future, but you weren't going to allude to any more than that. Could you hint any more in any direction?
It's just, you know, like our thing, you know, we're like, you know, we've been together a long time, and like as a crew, you know, for us, it's sort of that we're like a family as well, and you know, we want Bradford to be, like we were saying, like that, seen as that hip hop thing.
Yep.
So you know, we're when we do shows, we're big on routines. We're big on like doing stuff together, and not just a bunch of solo artists coming together and doing stuff.
Yep.
So it's kind of like we were looking at what's missing from the sort of, you know, hip hop scene, in a sense of breaking more specifically.
Yeah.
And you know, we're kind of developing a show. Do you know what I mean? So trying to think about that, and coming up with something that would draw eyes more to
cool.
Bradford, but you know, we won't say it's you know, it's still in development.
If it's development, that's totally fine. But that sounds really interesting.
But that's not something you can really go see, you know, because when you see a show, it might be a contemporary show and they'll get a breaker in, or it might be, say, like Diversity, which is more, I guess, a bit more commercial and full of other things. Whereas where, you know, a fully breaking type of thing would be something a bit more unique.
You ever thought it's something like I don't know if you know much about the Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
But like there's so many different things that go on like over a period of like half an hour or an hour, and because people aren't just expecting comedy, they're expecting whatever. Like there's a lot more opportunity for like random stuff like that. But it would be, I mean, it'd be amazing to see a show like that. Specifically just you guys.
You know, so we're working hard together, and we're just, you know, the thing for us as well is to stick together, and you know, like we've got that oldest member of the crew now is, I think, 38, and then it goes all the way down to like 6. You know what I mean? So
crazy.
You know, we're trying to just keep going, and we met a lot of people on our travels as well in their like 50s, and that's just like inspires us a lot. Some of the, you know, little Tim's actually 51, and he's still moving like mad.
Wow.
And
must do yoga.
Yeah, and you know, when we you know, me, Styles and Fox, we were just kind of like, oh yeah, you know, like we're old, you know, we definitely can't take it easy, because there's so many inspiring breakers like Freeze we've met, Paul One, KML, you know, and Glide, and these are older breakers we've met when we've been traveling recently and doing things, and you know, Asia One, there's loads of them, and they just, you know, it just seems like the age is moving up, because I think people are getting smarter about how the body works and stuff. Yeah, so
amazing.
You know, it's incredible, definitely.
BBoy Tranquil, I'm going to call it there, man. But thank you so much for having me in your amazing spot. I can just, I think the future looks really bright for breaking because of you, man. So thanks for all the hard work you've done. And thanks for giving me your time, brother.
No, thanks, man. And yeah, a big shout out to what you're doing. And I think, you know, you highlighting people and, you know, in the scene and stuff like that, I think it's amazing. And I
need the rest of West Yorkshire to know about you. And I would like breakdancing to be plugged in more to like West Yorkshire scene or whatever. And we'll figure a way. But what you're doing here is absolutely incredible, man.
Yeah.
So big up.
Well, definitely. Thanks, man. And yeah, thank God. Thanks.
Big up,
Peace.
Big up. That was BBoy Tranquil. So go check out links on the whatever. It'll be on the Spotify or the YouTube, whatever you're looking at. Please go check them out and, you know, help out if you can, if you're interested in getting involved in classes, or there needs to be a space for breakdance in West Yorkshire. So hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, big up.